story Liberation just have vastly different understandings of what Liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews on the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. Today is Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. Juneteenth, it's the 24th week of comics in 2024. Yeah, Juneteenth. Emancipation for Black people, for Indigenous people. Gotta mention that. Gotta shut that out. Yeah, it's the 24th week of comics in 2024. Also, Star Wars Underworld. It's I think we got 3 podcasts going live at the same time. I think Hannah's doing her thing on her show, her network, and Hills from the Galaxy are doing their thing on their channel, and we're here on the Star Wars Underworld channel because they're talking the Acolyte. We're here on the Star Wars Underworld channel talking comic books. Things not the Acolyte. We might get time to talk about the Acolyte at the end, but we definitely tend to save most of the bulk of our conversation for our main shows. Speaking of main shows, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Threads at IronCannonPod, EYEONCANONPOD, and on Twitter, mainly on Twitter and Instagram at StarRaptor, STAARRAPTER, and YouTube.com/StarRaptor for all that fun stuff. We're on the Iron Cannon and Outer Rim transmissions. I'm guessing it's all Acolyte all the time. I don't know about Outer Rim, but
That's our main viewpoint, as a main priority, as you can expect any other Star Wars podcast, anything out there to be talking about right now.
Yeah, so there you go. Star Wars podcast, except for this one, because we got 2 comic books to talk about.
Yeah, good ones
today. First off, we're going back to Exegol. Darth Vader number 47, written by Greg Pak, art by Raphael Yanko, colors by Frederick Lee. Cover there you see by Lionel Francis Hugh and Romulo Fajardo Jr.
That's a cool cover.
Yeah, it is a cool cover. It's Vader, just the eye of the Suma Verminoth. However you spell that thing, I don't quite know. The Raising of Exegol continues. Darth Vader and the Schism Imperial launch their boldest challenge to the power of Palpatine with an assault on Exegol, the home of the Emperor's greatest secrets and treasures. But if sheer brute force can't overcome the defenses of the Sith Citadel, what terrifying new resources will the Dark Lord draw upon? Also, Captain Enric Pride faces his greatest test. That's a funny little thing to jump there. No, I mean, this book was from last week, so I had to refresh my memory with kind of what happened. I mean, definitely a good continuation, a good bridge into, it was a good action piece, like real strong action piece about Vader being so formidable and calculating at the same time that, I'm kind of jumping to the end a little bit, that he chips the kyber crystal, sticks it in that staff thing, uses that to basically take out this massive creature that was blocking the way to Exegol. And so that's kind of touted as a setup to the Rise of Skywalker, and how everyone and everyone, literally everyone, can just get their way to Exegol now. But the most interesting parts here involve Luke. I think there's Vader goes into or touches the crystal and is able to commune with Palpatine, and in light of everything with the Acolyte, especially last week, we got Sith on the brain. Right? We got Sith on the brain. So here's a reminder that Vader is still part of this Sith line. He's part of this, the apprentice that craves power over the master who wields it, or the master wields power, the apprentice craves it. And to hire an acolyte named Luke Skywalker, potentially, and to bring in, and just the constant interplay of what Vader's plan for Luke is. As we know, it becomes what the Force's plan for Luke is, which is to bring back Anakin. But that was in light of everything going on screen, that had to have been timed, I think, to say we're going to have Sith on the brain, and so to contribute this little bit to that lore on paper. And then, of course, the few moments where it just cuts to Luke and Leia, and it cuts to Luke and Warba, and then Sabe at the end. And again, the other reminder, Luke is, she says, I knew your father. She doesn't say I knew your mother. I don't know if she knows that, but I wonder. I don't know. Is there any indication that she knows that Padme, that Luke and Padme's son? I don't know. But if we do, and it's always, again, I always bring this back. Whatever Sabe's sort of motivation.
Hey, Matthew, your mic is a little bit drowned out.
Yeah, it's still not working yet. Still getting issues here.
Oh no.
Whatever.
Sounds like you're super far away. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever Sabe's motivations here, there's going to be, it's still always this point of, Anakin is going to see the son of Padme writhing on the floor, and instead of Revenge of the Sith, where it's his fault, he can actually come and save him. And by the way, save her and save her legacy. So I don't know how that's going to play out in issues 48 to 50, but it seems like it will. And then in the last point there, it seems like I wonder, and because you sent me the image, I think it's at the back of the Jango Fett, but it's
it looks so good. Looks like a Dark Empire.
Yeah, the Dark Empire thing. I mean, that being said, the cover for Ongoing 48 also has Luke and Leia on the cover. I don't think Luke is in Ongoing 48. I think it's going to be one of those things where I was worried it'd be one of those things where it'd be like Marvel putting the same character in different places at the same time.
Oh, no.
They did that with Vader for a bit. No, this is a bait and switch that Luke isn't in that issue. He's just,
There's been an issue a while ago where it was like just the Calrissian stuff, and Luke was front and center. And he wasn't even an issue at all. So, with his lightsaber drawn, I was like, this is going to be a great action set piece. Luke's going to go and rescue Mon Mothma from the clutches of the Sarabia clan or whatever they were called, the mercenaries, and then he wasn't even in it at all. It's like,
So it's kind of an odd choice then, maybe to say, or maybe to remind us that he's still the main guy in this era. I don't know. So to sell numbers, maybe they did like the test. Comic books with Luke Skywalker on the cover sell this much in the comic.
Yes, exactly.
I know that's the harsh and cynical thing. I think it's also a more artistic story thing to say this is.
Yeah, I'm sure that Marvel. This is a quick digression. I'm sure Marvel will give these artists like, okay, this cover needs to have this character, and this character doing this, and then they go back and forth. Okay, we approve that. So Marvel knows what they're doing.
So that's all my thoughts on this book that came out this week. What do you think of Darth Vader number 47?
I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm very surprised that they're done with Exegol already. I was kind of hoping to see more of it drawn out. It was a little bit finished for like the story's sake of, okay, we got to get here, we got to get off this thing right away. Literally 2 issues and we're done with Exegol. That crystal, so I'm like, okay, so there's a mountain crystal, like a mountain-sized crystal. They went there to get a large portion of this crystal. Why exactly? Like, I'm just trying to figure out what was going on. The whole point of this was.
I mean, I wonder if it is the kind of this test that maybe Palpatine kind of sent Vader on this test. And then he touches it to commune with him.
Yeah, that was a cool point. Do you think that was actually happening, or was that just in Vader's mind? Do you think like he actually was real time talking to the Emperor, or was like a visage in his
like he
imagination?
Him on Coruscant, right? So, pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, it was interesting. We haven't ever really seen anything like that. But I mean, this overall was a badass issue for Vader. I mean. You gotta love when the comics just throw in something that is so outrageous in the comics, such as Darth Vader standing on the outside of a Lambda class shuttle in Exegol's atmosphere with this kyberite shield with a giant kyber crystal attached to a staff and is just blasting the heck out of this gigantic city-sized creature.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't get more comics than that, ladies and gentlemen. You talk about the over-the-top nature of the medium.
Mm-hmm.
This is the epitome of that. This is the epitome of Vader just showing us all what it's like to exist in the comic book world. So as we're sitting there watching Return of the Jedi, literally like a week before that or so, Vader's just battling people in Exegol with his giant staff. You know, it's a fun thing to think about.
Yes. I did find the panel where it does cut to him on Coruscant.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, good call. Good call.
Yeah. And then even Luke feels everything that's happening.
Yes.
So
yeah, that was so interesting. I love the idea that we were getting a crossover with Luke.
Yeah.
And how we were getting that
crossover
vital type of connection with this is such a big character. And then now Greg Pak for the next 2 issues will be able to play around with it.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool to see War, but I thought it was really neat to see Leia in there. And just the idea how Sabe is basically like, well, I hope you know how to use the dark side or something like that at the end.
Yeah.
It's like the mic drop of like, what the heck? She just completely took out R2D2. Like, how dare you? And Warba, like, that was savage.
She stunned them. Pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I mean, as far as like looking for some other things throughout this.
Yeah.
The permission that Vader gets from Palpatine after the whole Suma Verminoth, I thought that was interesting. Like, okay, now you can go and get Luke. So that, again, that's another timestamp of it's like we are in that headspace. We're figuring this out.
Yeah.
And like I told you earlier today about how I think these next 2 issues definitely have Luke in them for sure. But I think the purpose of them is we're always wondering about like, how does Luke know how to do the Force choke against Gamorrean guards in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
And if it's all about the dark side, we're seeing him on that cover with that Dark Empire garb.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to assume and speculate that these next 2 issues are going to have Luke learning how to do that. There it is right there. Oh, it's such a good cover. One of my favorites of like the last couple of years.
Cool.
So cool. So yeah, that's my theory, that's my speculation. But as far as for this issue in a nutshell, very good, as you mentioned, as far as like the action set pieces, the good old Sith Eternal cultists out there going, we're going to be saved by this big ass creature, and then Vader just wrecks it and goes away.
Go ahead.
Vader's still on Exegol. Like they're still in orbit. So that's my thing. Like, they got this kyber crystal. All right, so he wants that because it symbolizes power. And I guess he will be going, he got the permission to hunt Luke, so he's going to be out there trying to find Luke. Yeah, I'm very curious to see, because I do believe maybe this week or definitely next week, we're going to know what the heck is happening in Darth Vader issue number 50 and in Star Wars 50. And I'm very curious to see what those solicits are going to describe, if they're going to confirm this is the final issue, what those oversized issues can contain. I'm just really grasping for any little tidbits I can, because I'm excited to really see how this all wraps up, because we are certainly making that targeted attack run towards the end of this thing.
Yeah. I've assumed at 50. I mean, we know that ongoing is going to be a supersized 50, probably the Battle of Tanab, is what we're speculating here. At least what I'm speculating. Yeah, it seems to make sense. You know, that they're lining things up. And speaking of lining things up, like you used the word crossover. This issue, as we talk about it, it really feels like a love letter to everything that's come before in these canon comics over the last 9.5 years. Especially, like Vader with these ginormous moments that we don't necessarily get on screen.
Yeah.
Would be a little much. I guess the closest thing we got was the kinds of things in
Star Wars Rebels? In
Rebels, in the season, in Twilight of the Apprentice. I mean, and partly, him just floating in on the on the TIE fighter.
Yeah.
But also, everything with the that weapon, that super weapon. But him taking out a massive creature like that. Oh, sorry. Like, he could go into the Kessel Run and get that creature as well. Why not? If the story he needed to. And that's the interesting thing. Another interesting thing to say about this. He isn't just violent for the sake of being violent. He's taking this creature out because it's tactically necessary and important for what he needs to do. Yes, he channels his rage, but I mean that's the ideal for the Sith, is to say channeling your rage to be in control of it and be control of the galaxy. So there's that. Again, you mentioned crossover, and one of the great moments in all of canon came at the very beginning in 2015, near the very beginning, with that crossover about Luke and Vader. And, you know, the first prequel flashback we get in canon comics is Vader looking back in Revenge of the Sith. You know, Annie, I'm pregnant. I have a son. He will be mine. He will all be mine. You know, that this moment in our backdrop here, right? Specifically. And yeah, to say that that's coming full circle. I don't know. Again, I don't think it's going to be actually a full-blown crossover in that we might not necessarily get moments in the ongoing comic, but we're clearly getting Luke moments in this one. And, you know, Greg and Charles are definitely talking and chatting and making sure everything's on the same page, literally and otherwise. But yeah, it's high time. It's high time. You know, we talk about this. You know, Dark Droids was a good moment at first, and then it petered out. But yeah, this is coming to pretty spectacular finish, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
So, anything more to say, or should we move on?
I think it's time to move on to everybody's favorite bounty hunter, the prequels.
There we go. Going back in time, just to near Phantom Menace 25, keeping that party rolling. Jango Fett #4, written by Mr. Ethan Sachs, art by Luke Ross, colors by Nolan Woodard, cover by Lino Francisco again, another cover, and Nolan Woodard. The hunter becomes the hunted. Every major bounty hunter in the galaxy is stalking Jango Fett and Aura Singh. Will the unlikely partners solve the mystery of a priceless stolen artifact in time? Who will survive the shocking conclusion to the series? Before we dive in, I do want to mention, Jesse, we will get to your comments at the end, so please sit tight. Those are great comments, and get to see you chatting in there. We'll definitely get to those at the end. And Chris, before I turn to you, I want to shout out two moments in this comic book. First of all, I did share this on the Iron Cannon Twitter earlier today. There's a dad joke. There's quite the dad joke in this comic book. Let me find it first. Yeah, pretty early on. So Jango, Aura, and Nakano are there's this broadcast studio, and like breaking news, breaking and entering news. Come on, Ethan. More like breaking and entering news, guys. Come on, Ethan. Anyway.
Oh, it's so good because I had him on my podcast at one point.
Yeah.
And it's great. Well, actually, yeah, we had him on this podcast. We had him on this podcast.
Yeah.
We know he's got the journalist background. He worked for a newspaper company. So it's right in his wheelhouse to set this thing off at the HoloNet News Center.
Yeah.
I love getting that inside look at all that. But go ahead.
Breaking and entering news. It's the kind of joke my brother would make, and my brother is a dad, so, which is weird to think, but the kind of joke my brother would make, such a dad joke. Also, and I have this poster up here, there's a Taylor Swift reference in a Star Wars comic book. I don't know if you caught it, Chris. There's here we go. So the two kind of producers, they're going back and forth of what stories do we tell, because you know there's Valorum and all the scandals he's caught up in, including the thing with the war on Gleanne. So I'm here. It's like, so there's I know viewers don't want so much doom and gloom. So splice in a report about that Twi'lek pop icon dating the Shockball star.
Hey, I'm wondering if Shockball was that thing they were playing in the Star Wars Adventures Volume 3, issue number 5.
Maybe.
Or that's 6, whatever it was.
Good shout. But still, it's like the Taylor Swift reference in a Star Wars comic. I did not expect that. Could not see that coming. So I don't know if that saves the dad joke groan. I mean, the dad joke is pretty good. It's pretty funny. It's just, two hilarious ones. Anyways, otherwise a pretty serious, pretty solid comic book. What did you think of Jango Fett #4?
Yeah, they pulled it off, man. They freaking pulled it off. I was worried that they wouldn't have enough time. Ethan Sachs wouldn't have enough time, but why was I worried? Because this guy always hits it out of the park, no matter what. He's one of the most consistent Star Wars writers of the comics out there, and the way he weaves the story is just so good. I mean, just a lot of back and forth of, oh, who's really the one that is actually stealing this thing, and to get down to nitty gritty of figuring out it was a corrupt Republic individual, but then along the way getting really cool moments such as the character of Nakano Lash, like with Jango Fett like rubbing off on her, where she's like, yeah, you know what, I think I'm gonna be a bounty hunter. So it's like, it's cool moments like that, and then moments like where Aurra Sing is realizing that with the care that Jango gave the kind of Lash, it's like, hey, you know what? You should maybe think about taking somebody under your wing, or and he's talking about legacy, and he's like, yeah, if our lives aren't on the line at one point, maybe I'll think about it, settling down. Or so like really good ways of looking at the inside of Jango Fett himself underneath the armor, and seeing that he is like a really good dad. I mean, with Boba Fett, we see him in Attack of the Clones. Yeah, it's like he's got that vibe, and it's really neat to see that going there. And then of course, like everything else with the action, Luke Ross illustrating this awesome action, seeing this guy vigor struck like just like he was a cyborg the whole time. That's why he was so good. Like just. I had to look at it a couple times. Like, wait, what's going on here? Oh, he got blown up, but he was like Violent Valence. We have like a Violent Valence type of character in this story, which is really neat. And then I kind of was hoping that I kind of called this a couple weeks ago with like, oh, I bet it's gonna end with Count Dooku setting things up. And yeah, I was right. I called it. But it was a really cool moment where it's like, oh, now Jango Fett is on his radar. I can imagine now the next miniseries as at the end of this, the end for now. It wasn't even a question mark. It just said for now. It's pretty hopeful that we'll get like Jango's first meeting with Dooku and like putting him on another mission to like really test him out and things like that. So yeah, really enjoyed it. I think he tied this one up pretty well. What about you, Matthew?
Yeah, Ethan can bring together a 42 issue comic. He can bring together a 4-issue comic that opens the door for more things that ties into that 42 issue comic just set before. In a way, it's not quite a prequel to Bounty Hunters, because that has different things, but it definitely ties in. I didn't even clue in until this issue. Nakano Lash, Nautolan, and Nautolans are involved in this deeply in this story with their conflict with the Anselmi over the shared planet, just like another shared water planet, just like Mon Cala in Clone Wars. Another planet that the small scale instability forges ahead this large scale instability of the Clone Wars that we see explicitly. Valorum, yet another problem, and Dooku's all or is it Dooku saying the instability lead to a larger conflict that he's trying to provoke at this point pretty clearly. And again, going back to Nakano Lash, to see, of course, she's more personally involved in this because it's her people and her planet and her species. For some reason, I didn't clue in until this issue that, of course, she'd know. Okay, it's the Nautolan senator from Guyenne, who is pocketing the profits from selling this priceless thing that sparked the war. That he's responsible for sparking a war based on profits, which of course is a prequel to the Clone Wars, because there are a bunch of factions. It's complicated, but the ones we see on screen with the Trade Federation, the not the Robot Guild, whatever the Droid Guild, whatever they're called, Techno Union, those guys, Techno Union and the Banking Clan, they're in it because they want to be away from the pesky hands of Republic regulators. Obviously, was a Mina Monteri, and then they're more, oh, we want our independence, a pesky interference from the Republic, keeping people from living well. But yeah, it really preludes that. So I was surprised in such a bounty hunter, comic, bounty hunter underworld comic, where these bounty hunters, they really try and keep their head down and not involve themselves in the wider story. Even by the time of the rebellion and the Empire, they can't help it because everyone's swept up in this, and the moral lines between good and evil in the original trilogy are so clearly drawn. Even here, even at this point, Jango, he can't help but be kind of touched by this looming crisis with the Republic and the Separatists. And of course, I mean, he goes full bore being touched by it. First of all, he becomes Dooku's bodyguard and whatnot. He becomes the clone template. like a whole freaking army is him. So obviously, it really. I mean, that's another thing to say is his ability to be sitting pretty on Kamino and taking jobs when he wants now, like he's set for life otherwise, is because of all this galactic instability that I mean, we can say from an outside observer in the Republic would say, oh yeah, it necessitates the clone army. Of course, we know it's Palpatine and Dooku saying, hey, here's a clone army for you, Republican Jedi, why not? Fall prey to Order 66 eventually. And then that moment about Jango and Boba, that brings me back to Jody Houser's Age of Republic comic, which is a Jango Fett comic, but it's also a Boba Fett comic, and it is a Boba Fett story because it's about everything. But it really is a young Boba story. It's about what he learns and grows from his father, who is all about legacy and is all about the independence or the respect. Well, the bounty hunter code, which we see in Book of Boba Fett. Also the self-respect that you need, the independence you need, but also kind of the cool, uncaring distance that you might need. Oddly enough, that has to get passed down by this connection between a father and a son. So, I guess he kind of saves the dad joke by having the seed planted of being a dad. But as always, as expected with Ethan, this goes deeper than that's the thing I always worry about.
It's not just about politics. He always gets into the heart of the characters themselves and helps add more layers and more credence to where we see them in the movies. So
I mean, the thing I always worry, and I worried about the Bounty Hunters comic at first, was like his 42, his ongoing run, was it would be all about action, about cool criminal activity, Turns out it isn't. It's about Tonga and Lasha, and Tonga being a mom. It's about Jango kind of being a dad in a way. He has a job to do. Tonga has a job to do, but who he becomes along the way, of course. At the end, I mean, maybe this is going to be a contrast, and I do hope. I mean, Marvel, Disney do the right thing. Lucasfilm do the right thing. Give Ethan more stories to tell. Give Nolan more to do here. Now he's on the radar. Keep going. Keep telling the story. How does he go back into? I don't want to call it a selfish direction compared to Tonga, but a more parochial, I'm gonna be the template for this clone, so I can just sit pretty on Kamino and be Dooku's bodyguard. How does he go in that direction? So, definitely really well thought out, and even just as a 4-issue run, well concluded.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what he was able to accomplish. Just looking at the cool factor of Jango Fett, I think he definitely succeeded, right? Sure. Getting to see Slave One in all its glory, doing some cool stuff. getting to see the many gadgets, whether it be the beskar type blade or what is it called, the vibro knife, or using the jetpack like he used in this issue was sick. Like getting that guy Strucker or whatever, and Vigor Struck, and wiring him with the jetpack and just setting him off with a thermal detonator. Like that was just fun.
I think
stuff
another
right
pun, like you're gonna go places, you're gonna take off or something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, like he added a lot of like James Bond-esque quips to Jango Fett, which were really good. I actually enjoyed them. But like getting to see the underbelly of the Star Wars galaxy at this era is always a good. We get to see Shevins, those Ephant guys from Return of the Jedi, the big elephant-looking dudes.
Okay.
That were, you don't remember that? The big elephant guys that were working. This is the other issue. It wasn't in this issue.
Okay. Oh, okay.
The big elephant guys that were getting their necks.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
that's
just
funny.
throwing out. This is why I love to see Ethan Sachs, because he always pulls out the most obscure Star Wars characters and just has a ball with them. And just him and his artists always know how to choreograph the action so well from page to page, just popping off the pages, the panels. It's just good stuff all around.
The characters on his bed sheets growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know if Struck is dead. And because here's the thing, he was a little, I don't want to say underused because they had to go in a different direction. But there's got to be more to him than that, and we need to see more to him.
Well, it was interesting because I was looking at this a few times.
Yeah.
We have R. Singh who throws a thermal detonator. It hits him, but I don't know if it like sticks to his chest, because we see from his back. And then that's when he goes into space. So I don't know if that thing is inferred to eventually explode. And then he's obviously dead, or what happens there. But even the other cool thing, right? Like even seeing R. Singh and Jango Fett, R. Singh and Jango Fett teaming up.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool idea. I mean, just legendary bounty hunters in that era teaming up for a mission where she double crosses the one guy, kills him, and it's a lot of cool espionage type subterfugal kind of things going on in this issue, where again it's not straightforward. I appreciate that there is a lot more nuance to this story, a lot more twists and turns, and everything from I like how deeply seated that Dooku was planning this. Like he went to this corrupt official. Well, no, he went through this third party guy that was the Miri Allen guy that was working for the Republic, that got R. Singh out, and then she killed him. But then he was able to give the senator or whoever, the Nautilin guy, information, and then he was able to. So it was very deeply seated stuff that was happening. That was like, it was really, really neat to see all that care and detail. But then Jango Fett figures it out, but then he doesn't even tell the other Republic official all this stuff, and she's like, yeah, he's trustworthy because he just does his job. And then that's when Dooku notices him. So it's like, this is cool. The first reaction of Dooku to Jango Fett. We know they'll have a long business relationship going forward at this point.
About 10 years until something happens to Jango. Jango just loses.
Yes.
He can't control himself. No. Gets a lavender lightsaber at the end there, but that's a bit gruesome. That he's counting on this other Republic official to just take his evidence and say, oh yeah, he figured it out as circumstantial evidence, because he doesn't care, or he's willfully not caring. That's the thing. He is going into this more self-centered direction than Tonga does. Of course, the difference is, of course, we know where Jango has to end up, but it's a fascinating way that Ethan is taking that. I mean, that's the thing with all these stories. It's a challenge to say, okay, here's where this has to end up. Let's make it interesting anyway. Of course, that's what Greg and Charles are doing in the main run. So Ethan's doing that in this. Jango figures it out. He counts on this other official to not look too deeply into the evidence, because what matters is that it's an audition for Dooku, and Jango kind of senses that or has the idea of that. He doesn't know for sure. He's going to find out soon enough. And that again, hopefully we get to actually see that in this comic and see how that goes. We did get the Legends version of that in a comic book. It was the Emissaries and Assassins, I believe, which was one of the few Legends things I've actually read. So is that, but or is that the actual the Mandalorian, the one that goes into him being not part of Death Watch, the other side, something like that. I don't know. It's Mandalorians were complicated. This lore, how the Legends comic that goes into how he's basically a foundling.
Oh, I don't know anything about it. I've never read it. My biggest hype for Jango Fett, and as a fan of Jango Fett, goes back to I played it on GameCube. I know it's available on other systems, but the video game. Oh man, I just remember the Bando Gora.
Yes.
This like cult like, almost like Dathomirian kind of dark culty Sith like kind of worshippers. And then you had one of the people had like twin red bladed lightsabers, and it was really cool. And you had a bunch of missions where you could, tie people up with your whipcord and get bounties on them. It was a really fun action game. I really liked that a lot. Somebody needs to port it to Xbox. Apparently you can play it on PlayStation. But this really lived up to the hype. This really did it for me. I feel like if this is the only thing I get from Jango Fett, I'll be happy. Of course I want more. I would love to see this another miniseries. I mean, that's the way Marvel's going. It seems like they'd rather just do 4-issue miniseries now. I guess for them it's easier to keep viewers engaged or readers engaged because you're going to lose people if it's like a 40-issue arc. But if you can do quick, like succession 4-issue things, like the Mace Windu, like we have. I can't wait. The more I see the advertisements for the Inquisitors.
Oh yeah,
one coming out. I think that could be a sleeper hit. I think with that introducing a new Jedi character and stuff, that could be really cool. But yeah, we're seeing a lot more miniseries, so we'll see what's going to happen with that. But it's always a good place to close off. We can surmise, okay, Dooku will find Jango after this thing he did, and that's how it'll happen. But we could actually maybe read it ourselves, hopefully in a not too distant future down the line.
You mentioned the video game, and I'm going to bring this up here. This one, it seemed to have like I mean, I'm not a gamer myself, but it seemed to at least be inspired by the kind of pacing and flow of a video game. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some influence on Ethan's storytelling, on Luke and Nolan's work here, in getting the visual of it. Because the action was great, and and then not to say that Luke can't do things originally, but he definitely can. But I'd be curious if that weird dark side cult kind of comes back in future parts.
Oh man,
because I mean
they are not canonized. They've never been mentioned, I don't believe.
But I mean, it would kind of make sense, especially given the whole clone thing is a plan of the Sith. And maybe there's some other dark side cult trying to work in there. I mean, we know the Dathomiri witches are sort of not directly involved, but they're they're around.
They are canonized, apparently.
Oh, really? They have been canon.
They have one source, and it's from Star Wars: The Rise of the Separatists, a 2019 supplement to Fantasy Flight game series of role-playing products. It's literally one reference, but that means it's canonized. So there you go.
I mean, those Fantasy Flight games especially seem to be ways of bringing in a lot of legend stuff.
Oh yeah, I right now I've been playing the recent release Star Wars trading card game Unlimited, Star Wars Unlimited, and and that is definitely giving us a lot of really interesting images of characters that I think we've read in books that we have never seen before. So I'll hold it to them. I think Fantasy Flight Games, especially with that card game, is going to start canonizing a lot of things just through that, because it's easy. You just get an artist to do this. Oh, we need a ship. Let's just pull this from the Bounty Hunter game in 2002. Okay, cool.
Yeah, why not?
That's your source.
I like how you're using the word canonizing, which is has a different context from names. Okay, let's move on a little bit. I do want to get to Jesse's comment if he's here, because Jesse's good to hang out. This is a good question. Someone who hasn't read any comics, start Darth Vader #1 or hop on, and I'm Jesse. I don't know if you're still around watching, but yeah, so the Greg Pak Darth Vader. I mean, the most obvious starting point would be Skywalker Strikes.
Yeah. 2015.
Yeah, and then the like for original trilogy.
You could do Soul. You could do Souls first too.
So I was gonna say, for original trilogy fans, Skywalker Strikes and Darth Vader, was it Kieran Gillen started that one? So Jason Aaron and Kieran Gillen. Those are long runs. There's also short runs at that time, like Leia and everyone. I also recommend Age of Republic and Age of Rebellion, Age of Resistance. Those are one shots. Pick a character if you have a favorite character. Find that one in digital. A lot of cons usually have copies because it just didn't sell terribly great, but they have them. Yeah, pick that up. Or like you said, if you're a prequel fan, Darth Vader #1 2017. It's my favorite comic of all time. Yeah, it really dives into who is Anakin and Vader at the same time, and what the relationship between those two. And bridges does the thing I love, which is bridge the gap between episodes 3 and 4 in Vader's mind, in Vader's life. And so, and it does that in 25 issues. And so that would be also a starting point. I don't know if you have any of the other ideas of starting points.
Yeah, I think the most bang for the buck, as far as just like the most thrills, the most really awesome Vader moments, definitely pick up the Souls run of 2017. Yeah. Even if you just read the first trade paperback, it's very, very relevant now with the Barash Fallon, especially with Kirak and Fala. It is such a heavy hitter. I mean, it's simply put, Vader day one. It literally starting in Vader's armor. Figuring out how to move, how to walk, how to use the Force, how he builds his first lightsaber. Like, this is fundamental, like, canon shifting moments that are huge. It takes some of the biggest swings out of any like book or comic for anything for a character. So I think reading that, you're gonna realize, oh my gosh, these canonical comics are just so freaking good.
Yeah, and then that one, I don't know. I'll tell you a question. What is your favorite canon comic so far?
Oh, geez, this is the tough one for me.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many. I've read every single one since 2015. Trying to pinpoint one right now. I really like the High Republic Volume 1. Overall, like the stuff with the Dren gear, and it's just the stuff with the huts. Like, that is so good. I don't know. It's just top of my head. I'll give it to that one right away.
Avar riding a Rancor. We saw it first in comics, and then we saw it in Jango Fett. There we go. Great question, Jesse. Definitely think about it. I think Joel and I had some episodes a few months ago, just good starting points in canon on the Iron Canon podcast. So check that out as well. Speaking of canon, I think we have a bit of time, right? We got a bit of time. There was the Space Wizard show, the new Space Wizard show. And before we go into, I haven't gotten your thoughts on episode 3. I definitely want to get your thoughts on that. I just want to say, you see on the Iron Canon socials and in the Discord here, got these stickers came in, and that was great. I just pounced on that. I'm changing the description in the Iron Canon Twitter to Yord Horde forever, and Yord. I actually love the character. I love how he takes himself too seriously. It's so funny. And so I'm happy to we have these stickers, and I put those right side up. So yeah, your Horde official. This is from someone's from Swagman. I don't know, some company called Swagman. But yeah, if you had submitted it by a certain day, they FedExed it to me free of charge to me across a border. I didn't pay a fees. So Star Wars Lucasfilm marketing, you know what you're doing. You're on the ball. It was really, really fun. Glad to have these. I got to figure out where to put them. So I don't actually put stickers on anywhere. It's the only
Same.
I'll figure that out. But anyways, yeah. So Iron Cannon. I mean, we're gonna actually talk about this. Outer Rim transmissions. We're gonna talk about this in July 10th, Wednesday, July 10th. We're doing a grand combination. Tractor Beam is actually gonna talk about the Acolyte episode that came out the night before. Switch that up. But episode 3, Destiny, I didn't get your thoughts, and then episode 4, Day, came out last night. What I mean, 2 very different episodes. What were your thoughts and feels?
Yeah, episode 3 was a really cool look at a different Force sect that used the Force in different ways. We've seen this many times, whether it be the Dathomir Wishes, the Lasan of Star Wars Rebels, just calling the Force a different thing, but like utilizing it in various purposes. Getting to see like just the Jedi in a different light. And we've, as the book readers, as comic readers, we've seen this for years, how, Lucasfilm has been putting it out there like, yeah, sometimes, not everybody likes the Jedi. Like, from like a consumer's perspective in our world, like, yeah, the Jedi are the White Knights. Like, there's nothing bad about them. But like in their world, like, these people are taking kids at like 4 or 5, and for a lot of people, they can look at that and be like, what the hell are these guys doing? Like, that's kind of creepy. And like, we see Soul hiding behind a tree, calling out to Mail. You didn't have that marking before. Like, wait, why are you watching me so close? Like, all this crazy, weird stuff. So it brings in a question, like, yeah, the Jedi, for some other people's perspectives, are not all that good. We're getting to see a lot of stuff like that, which gets me. And what this show is doing well is it's moving the story at a pretty good clip every episode. I feel like episode 3 did kind of like run a little bit where I was like, okay, like we knew this, like I would have liked to seen a little bit more in this episode. But overall, it was really cool. However, it's a Star Wars mystery, and we haven't gotten that before in a long format type of thing like this. So getting questions answered, but then also introducing questions, just like, oh wait, like, who did the fire? It couldn't have been May. Maybe it was a Jedi. They're so guilty, like, of people like taking Rush Vow and then things like that. Like, what is happening? We're getting like half the story, kind of like Last Jedi with the whole Rashomon sequence with Ben and with Luke. So I'm getting those vibes, like a very strong like Last Jedi kind of vibe from Rashomon. Rashomon overall kind of thing. And then episode 4. Pretty solid. It's decent enough to kind of get to the end there. But the edit was great, but like it was a poor choice to edit it there. I think I feel like I don't know why they just can't make these up. I went on there and I seen that one of the writers, I wish I could credit her right now, was like literally acknowledging, like, yes, we understand, like, it was not a great time to cut the episode, but like we had to cut it somewhere, and it's like just put both episodes, because apparently 4 and 5 are like a 1 and 2 parts. Just put the whole thing out there, your own streaming service. Who cares? So sometimes I'm just like, Disney and their dogmatic ways of making 30-minute episodes of every series you put out, like, just try to go against the grain a little bit, guys, because it does affect your week-to-week enjoyment when you cut it in the middle of an action sequence. What the heck?
That's true. Well, yeah, let's go back to episode 3, the Jedi, just picking up what you were saying. I mean, they go out there, they're getting the Republic to outlaw these other sects, and they're not allowed to train. Weird, wild thing. I gotta say, episode 3 is probably gonna go down. I don't know. It's recentism. I know it's only been a week. One of my favorite moments so far, in screen canon in Star Wars, because of what it did to the conversation. It just said, It just how relentlessly it refused to give a perspective, and it forced everybody to read stuff into it that are only there, but not entirely. In that kind of forcing people to say this is what this episode's about, even though that's not fully what the episode's about, right?
Yeah.
We're saying this is about how the Jedi are evil. This is about how the Jedi can go and rescue kids who are brainwashed. How the Jedi brainwash people. And, it's whatever you bring to it. And this is what I was going on Monday. It's confirmation bias. Whatever you bring to it, that's what the episode's about. And the question, like I was saying about who did the fire, the question isn't what is this episode about. It's the more important question, more interesting question is what do you think it's about and why, and how we can have different things. So yeah, it was this ultimate not the what's the Rorschach test of people's preconceptions. You mentioned the mystery, the mystery. Speaking of comic book history, Rorschach. Anyway, the mystery. Yeah, I'm just realizing this now. It was billed as a mystery of who was killing these Jedi. There was the marketing for it, and right off the bat, we're given the answer, and everyone knows, and it's not actually a mystery. The real mystery is who's responsible for this thing 16 years before, and that is being spun out. And of course, that's the beautiful thing about that third episode. Asha doesn't even know. She's 8. All she sees is May burning her book, and then she turns away to go call for help. And then next thing she knows, the whole place is on fire. She has no clue, except that Soul has told her this, and he's living with the weight of that lie, right? Which we don't know what the truth is. It's another thing. It's who do we think did it, and why? If you think it's the Jedi, why do you think it's the Jedi? Why do you assume that? If you think it's the Sith, why do you assume that? Why can't it be the Jedi? Or what are the Jedi complicit in somehow, like you're mentioning? So I love that. Episode 4 was it was a thing that happened. So here's the thing: we won't. Yeah, like hearing that episode 5 is it's basically a 2-parter, 4 and 5.
Yeah, they're like. Yeah, they literally said, and I can send you the screenshot, but they literally said, we had to make this episode so short to make the episode 5 longer for some reason. I'm like, why are you so arbitrarily contracted to do it that way? Like,
so it makes me more disappointed that they just didn't release it last night.
Yeah,
because that's what my thought was. Oh, they're probably gonna. I'm gonna spoil this now. If you haven't seen this episode yet, sorry, but now May's turn makes no sense.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping something in episode 5 will make sense of it. Why not give it to us now? Because that's the thing with episode 1 and 2. Episode 1 could have stood on its own.
Yeah,
I understand why they give it to us. They gave us episode 2 anyway. Ahsoka episode 1 with Sabine, with the lightsaber, but I forget, I'm blanking on her name now. Shin. Okay, good that they didn't trick us for a whole week with that. Good that they didn't trick us for a whole week with the twins reveal. That was good too. This one really needed just to have episode 5 come right after. Call it episode 4. That's fine. Call it episode 5. That's fine. If the twist had been set up well and leading to a tense cliffhanger, okay, make us sweat, make us wait. We need to do better with that. It's true. We need to have, gone are the days of here's sci-fi TV history. Gone are the days of TNG season 4. Was it season 4? I am Locutus of Borg. Resistance is futile. You got to wait a whole dang summer for the second half of that episode, right? Gone are those days. People's summers were ruined. People would go going up to Patrick Stewart being like, "My summer was ruined." We're not in that time anymore.
I have no idea what this reference is about, and I'm
So
just going with it.
So, basically, here's a spoiler for an episode, 30-year-old episode. So Captain Picard is like the Borg are the big enemy, these cyborgs. They capture him and they have ability to assimilate, as in like inject them with nanoprobes, make him into people into Borg. And the episode ends with Picard being assimilated, being captured by the assimilated. The season ends with that. And it's like, and now he's the enemy of who he was before.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so, but the season ends with that, and then people have to wait 2 months, or however many months it was. Now it's just on Paramount Plus. It's fine. I had it on DVDs 20 years ago, whatever. But originally they had to wait 2-3 months, and people would be like going up to Patrick Stewart on the street, like, "You ruined my summer." Like he had anything to do with it.
Gosh,
the actor.
Yeah.
So if they did that, made us wait a week for good reason. It's just they're making us wait a week for. When we see it, it'll probably be all is forgiven, but.
Yeah, and it's just like feelings overall. I've been thinking a lot about it today, especially because I realized we are already halfway through the series.
Yeah, the season at least.
There's some really good things in here, but I feel like this series, I don't know if it's like the episode lengths or it's the amount of depth that they get into, or it's the characters, and the actors do a great job, but I don't find myself like really championing any specific character. I don't find that there's enough levity in the story, and so for me right now, I'm kind of like, I like it, don't get me wrong, but I was hoping, for me in my mind, like for 4 years since it's been announced, like hoping for something a little bit more like, and there's 4 episodes to go, but my thing is, what impact will this leave on Star Wars in universe, like we see big moments happening in Mandalorian and stuff that changes the landscape, and we know that this is probably going to connect to like Plagueis eventually or something down the road, but like as an impactful thing, like when you go to like talk to somebody about the Acolyte, I feel like right now I can't really get 100% behind it, because there's just, and it's hard for me to pinpoint what it is, and maybe it is like at length, maybe it is characters aren't resonating with me as much, there's not enough umph to each thing, and the first 2 episodes hooked me. It's just these last 2 episodes, I don't know, something for me is a little off. Can't quite put my finger on, but that's what I'm feeling right now. That could change, but I have to acknowledge that we're halfway through the series, so I've gotten enough of a sample size to see how I'm feeling right now.
It could be the pacing. It is odd. Like we get these 2 episodes in one night. And I think I was talking to Dom about this, and so I think Joel too, there's the pacing, and then Dom was saying it immediately goes to this flashback, and then goes to this episode, and so there's a sort of, maybe this disjointed sort of, there's a feel of the story moving forward, but it isn't actually moving forward. You're just holding out this mystery. It feels,
and I think also what it feels like is it feels rather small, the story. Like there's just a couple characters. Like I don't, and they are going to plenty new planets. That's one thing I was talking about. Like, oh, we get Kofar, we get Ueda. Like it's a lot of great new planets. We see Coruscant a lot. It just feels like it's like relatively small scale. And I just feel like after 4 years, I was really hoping for something a little bit more impactful so far. So we'll see.
Yeah, I do think this Mary Ellen right here, I think she's the kind of like a key to the larger story. How she has a line. She senses, this is something about tipping the scales.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, we already kind of know, some connection to Plagueis, but we probably just need a little more meat on the bone. I think we can. I think we do. Again, the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Love it. Yord, I really do love Yord. I mean this. Like in in the face of all the nonsense reactions, here we have this. This is a slap in the face, and the middle finger to all the fandom menace out there. Like, you don't care what you think, Rotten Tomatoes. Here's we're Yord Horde. And we love this goofy character who takes himself too seriously, but also this is a really wonderful, sensible thing to Osha that we wish we had seen in the episode, right? So for it's her to come face herself. So anyway, we'll talk. Joel and I will talk more, and we're getting a guest on Monday. I'm guessing you're going to talk more about it for Outer Rim Transmissions.
Yes, we'll have plenty more to say over there on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
There you
go. Over on the Star Raptor YouTube channel.
We'll pick that up. There are more comics coming out next week. Darth Maul, Black, White, and Red #3. High Republic Adventures, Saber for Hire #3. Tayoric taking on the Nile because they were messing with some kids. And so that's pulled her into the conflict. Darth Maul continuing to be tested by Palpatine, definitely in a time much before Phantom Menace. Which of these are you looking forward to more? What are you looking forward to seeing in these 2?
Yeah, I mean, the Darth Maul series has been great. As I was talking about the last time for issue #2, I love that the writer included so much depth and so much world building for this Moonraker, whatever it was called, Moonmender or something like that planet, where it was like all these people that were mercenaries, and they just did a great job taking us through the storytelling of Maul just ruining these poor people's lives. It's just like, and Palpatine just, what we were doing. Maul's like, what was the point of this? I'm just having you train.
Yeah,
like you just massacred these poor colonials or colonists, and just for the sake of training. Jeez. And Saber for Hire.
Yeah,
that's another one that I'm kind of like lukewarm on right now. I was a little bit let down that we didn't see Kip, or what's his name? Kip, and then there was the other character. I think there's a big characters. I want to see more of them. And I was feeling a little bit more, getting a little bit more positive on the character of Tyor, because started to get more humanity about her. Same thing for Druin was like Druin was like getting a lot better in my eyes. Of like, hey, I actually remember his name now. That's a good thing, because that means he's impacting me with his altruism of trying to do the right thing, trying to make a name for himself and show that he's capable of things. So there is definitely promise in that story. So it's good to see that we're getting the next chapter next week already.
Yeah, it's good. And obviously go back to that era, staying with the High Republic era, right? But
dude, it's like I feel like every week we were getting High Republic content, whether it's the Insider story that I read, whether it's I read Temptation of the Force. You can check out my review.
Nice.
Check it out. So
I'm almost done Defy the Storm.
Yes.
We are getting High Republic content every week on a TV show called The Acolyte. That is another nice thing. It really does still feel like a High Republic show story on screen. But yeah, that's true. Yeah, it keeps rolling along. Temptation of the Force. Jedi and Lerv on Naboo, as far as that's how it's billed. Don't spoil anything for me, please. There we go. All right, yeah. So that's what's next week. Check out your local comic book shops, obviously on digital if that's more your speed. But support local. Go to your local comic book shop and pick up these single issues and past issues, even including of Jango Fett. Definitely bump those sales up. Buy those variants.
Yeah,
to do the right thing with get Ethan and Luke and Nolan more work. Right, telling this story, especially. So there we go. All right, we can get the plugs away. Thanks for another great episode, another great podcast. Where can they find you on the internet?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, these were 2 episodes or 2 issues that I was looking forward to talking about, because they are both full of action and a lot of good character work. So yeah, very good stuff there. We'll have 2 to talk about next week. But yeah, as far as for where you can find me, what I'm doing, As I said, my Temptation of the Force review and my podcasts are over on the youtube.com/StarRaptor website. I'm saying website for some reason, like I'm 1999. There you go. youtube.com/StarRaptor is where you can find all of my on video work. And you can also look up Outer Rim Transmission on any podcast service like Spotify or Apple Music. I also have my written words over on my blog, which is StarRaptor.substack.com. There you go. 2 weeks from doing the plugs on this show, and I'm already getting rusty. So there you go. And of course, you can find no hot takes from me when it comes to Star Wars. Literally, I'm staying out of this nonsense. I'm doing my best to keep a level head from all the insanity that is happening. So yeah, I'll say things about video games, things about skateboarding, things about positive Star Wars over on my Twitter, which is same as here, Star Raptor.
Yeah. And then again, at Iron Cannon Pod, where yes, we are. That's the thing. This is such a positivity thing right here. We're hashtag Yordhorde forever, Yordhorde forever. At the Iron Cannon Podcast, which you can watch Mondays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We're rolling right along with the Acolyte, episode 5. Episode 4. Sorry,
4
coming out. That's another weird thing, right? We get these bookends. You and I are on the night after it airs, and Joel and I are on the night before the next one airs. So we have this whole week to work it out, and then we get guests on. We have another guest coming up. I'll shout him out when the time comes. But yeah, looking forward to that. And of course, that's right here on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, Monday night. Of course, tomorrow night is the flagship, but they're definitely talking about this episode, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and then we'll be right back at it Wednesday with the Tractor Beam. As always, as host, you can follow me on Twitter, myself on Twitter at NEUG485, Instagram and Threads, MNEUG1138. The food Instagram, that is changing soon. I have plans in the works to spin that off. So when that happens, if you're interested in food Instagram, I'll plug that because it's my thing. Why not do that? But definitely check out MNEG1138 on Instagram and Threads there, and of course at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. Yeah, next week, if we can find this next week, it's High Republic, High Republic Adventure Saber for Hire number 3, Darth Maul Black, White, and Red number 3. To another sweep, another pre-Phantom Menace sweep. 4 comics, just 2 books this time. So here for it with the thing. 1999. Speaking of 1999, you know, it came out in 1999. It was The Matrix, but also the Phantom Menace.
There we go.
Yeah. So
nice.
Yes, do check out. Give that ticker out of the way. Do check out those 2 books. Check out all the fun stuff. If my Insider issue comes in, it hasn't come in yet. Stickers came in for free. Insider issues, waiting on that. I paid for that. That'll then we can talk about that as well. But yeah, definitely those 2. Pick them up. Chris, it's been fun. Till next week. Happy reading and for light and life.
There we go.